What's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of my Hartford Whalers franchise mode series here on NHL 18, and let's get right down to business. The question on your mind, at least when it comes to this series, I mean, if you're watching my channel, you're a bit weird, so you might have been thinking about some other stuff, but in terms of this series, the question on your mind had to have been, am I going to sign David Pastrnak? And the answer is yes. However, due to the fact that the overwhelming response was to sign Pastrnak, I couldn't help but think, would it also be worth signing somebody else? Would it also be worth signing Mitch Marner? Now, the thought process when it came to potentially signing these two players was to allow them to get to the preseason, because if they did, we would be able to sign them for cheap. And that is indeed the case. That is indeed what has happened. Both players can be signed for cheap. Both players can be acquired without me having to make a single trade. So while some might view it as a bit too much to sign both players, the opportunity is there, and I'd be a fool to pass it up. Now, what I mean by not having to make a trade, when I say that, that means when we offer David Pastrnak a one-year deal, his asking price drops to $4.45 million per season, and that moves him into the first and third round compensation bracket instead of the first, second, and third. And when you move Mitch Marner down to a one-year deal, that drops him to $3.375 million, which means you only have to give up a second round pick. So rather than signing Pastrnak to the 2-year deal and giving up a first, second, and third, if we offer both players a 1-year deal for our first, second, and third round picks, we acquire two of the best young players in the game today. And that is exactly what we are going to do. And again, some people might view this as a little bit too much. I was going to sign Pastrnak to a 1-year deal anyway. I wasn't going to give up that first, second, and third. We were always going to drop it to a 1-year deal, although it's a bit risky because we may just have to overpay in a drastic way next offseason to keep him. However, there is no guarantee that he is going to be here beyond this first year. If we're that bad, it may just be worth getting rid of him and honestly trying to reacquire that first round pick that we're about to send to Boston. And then with Mitch Marner, it's a second round pick for Mitch Marner. It is unreal how easy it is to acquire these two players. Like I said, there's definitely a risk in only signing them to 1-year deals, but at the very least, we will be acquiring them. Now, the other question that, ultimately comes up here is, who are we going to get rid of? Now, originally, I talked about moving Connor Brown, but I've thought about it because I'm going to play Marner at center on the second line center spot. So we're going to move down Andre Burakovsky and Chris Tierney. Marner will be the second line center with Dadonov and Sprong. And of course, David Pastrnak will be on the top line with Nolan Patrick and Artemi Panarin. So Nick Kurdiles will be traded, and Kosarenkov, unfortunately, will be sent back down to the Connecticut Whale. It might hurt his development a little bit. If it does, then odds are I will trade Connor Brown at that point. But like I said, for the chance to acquire David Pastrnak and Mitch Marner, it's worth the risk. It's one player with high top 9 potential. He is certainly worth sacrificing to acquire 2 players of this magnitude. Now, of course, we are going to have to wait a little bit before we can hear back from them, so I will go to the calendar, and we'll sim a couple of days ahead. It's a week until our first game against Winnipeg anyway. Pastrnak has, of course, accepted. The Bruins don't have the cap space to match. Same with the Maple Leafs. And there you have it. Just like that, Mitch Marner has been acquired for a second-round pick. Mitch Marner is a Hartford Whaler. That is ridiculous. And will we hear back from Pastrnak? Yes, we will. For a first and third-round pick, David Pastrnak is also a member of the Hartford Whalers. Without a doubt, this is the most important episode and series-altering episode we have had yet. Talking about, when you talk about what we've done in the series so far and the decision to sell off a lot of players, while that was important and has ultimately led us to this point, just the magnitude of acquiring 2 players of this caliber literally changes the game for what we are looking at in this series. And to be honest, it might be worth keeping Kerdiles around as the first call-up. I'm not sure what we could get for him draft pick-wise, and that's a situation that we're going to have to check out here in a minute. But, you look at that new top line, and to be honest, we could even roll with, really, we could go with Marner on the top line. All 3 players are first-line guys. It is ridiculous. And I think you kind of had to expect it when I mentioned that Mitch Marner could play center, that I wasn't quite willing to give up on the dream of acquiring him, and indeed, we didn't, if I can remember to move these guys around in the right order. So it will be DeBrusk, Burakovsky, and Brown on the third line. Very tempted to put Jake DeBrusk on that second line, but we'll keep Dadonov there in the meantime. So, needless to say, things look a little bit different as we have acquired Panarin, Marner, and Pastrnak over this past offseason. Holy shit. And of course, defensively, we're still looking all right. It's not tremendous, but it will get there, and that's what's important. Of course, the power play is ungodly. The penalty kill will be able to keep Tierney, Shore, and hopefully Brown happy as well. Mainly it's Tierney and Shore that we have to worry about. And then down in the AHL, the big question is, should I just keep Kerdiles? Now, that would probably mean taking Sebastian Olsson out of the lineup. Jonathan Davidson, for sure, is going to be taken out of the lineup. I think I'd still want to give Olsson a bit of a chance, although he is a center with only 68 faceoffs. To be honest, though, who do we have for depth already? We have Grabeshkov, and we have Lockdown off the 2 Russians. Right. All right, so we'll bring in Kosarenkov. We'll put him... Can he play center? He can, and that's perfect. Because that means we can put Fabian Haberstich as the second-line center. So the top line will be Dirksen, Kosarenkov, and Radish. Of course, the Connecticut Whale, they are a weaker team this year. There's no doubt about it. We're trying to see what we have with some of these prospects, and we're trying to see how well they can progress. But what can you say to the additions to this team? It changes the outlook. I have no idea what we're going to have now as far as a tag goes. Hopeful. So like that, we go to hopefuls. I'm surprised we didn't go to contenders immediately. I really do love the forward core that we have. And honestly, how far off are we from being a playoff team because of these additions? Like I said, we are running the risk of both Marner and Pastrnak potentially declining and, wanting a ton more money, which would, affect the team, but it wouldn't be a complete disaster. And you know what? We're just going to get rid of Kerdiles. Kerdiles and Davidson are going to be traded because of that pickup. We'll send them both to the Anaheim Ducks. I don't know what to expect this year now, guys. I have no idea. Can we get a third and a fifth for these two players? How about just a third? No. Okay, worth a shot, right? How about a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth? What do you say to that? All right, see, I had a feeling that would go through. I was going to offer less, but I knew that they were pretty much worth the third round pick. I just didn't want to have to give up more to get it. So this year, we have Arizona's second. We have Arizona's third, Anaheim's third, and Washington's third. 2 fourth-round picks, a ton of fifth-round picks, a ton of sixths, and quite a few sevenths. So I'd say around trade deadline time, I am going to have to move some of these picks. I'm probably going to try to turn sevenths into sixths and see how it goes from there. But in the meantime, our team is set, and we are ready to begin the sim on a new season. Again, one more look at the lines in the future. Obviously, you hope that Dadonov will be gone. You hope that DeBrusk is the one to replace him. And we'll see if keeping Connor Brown was the right idea. Also, it gave Tierney power play time. Instead of him, we got to put Burakovsky there. Tierney at least has the PK time. So let's go ahead and put Burakovsky there. And you know what? To be honest, it's probably just because Burakovsky wasn't listed as a center. I mean, he's not the best center in the world, but I mean, when you look at some of the other options, you know, we're kind of limited. As it is, we have Nolan Patrick playing center. So I could, actually, you know what? I might. I think I'm going to change Burakovsky to a center. We'll change Shore to a right wing, Marner to a center. And then that way I can go best lines and it might set it up that much better. As far as, you know, editing players as, you know, when it comes to player types, I haven't altered anything in this series thus far. I don't know if I will, unless there's one, you know, specific case that really makes sense. All right, so like Nick Shore, for example. Decent as a two-way. You could even have him as a grinder if you wanted to. But at the very least, let's change him to a right wing. Those beautiful jerseys. I actually really like those. I do. Hopefully we get to see certain players in said jerseys raising the cup sooner rather than later. Let's move Mitch Marner to a center role, which honestly really could hurt at the game putting Burakovsky in at center, but again, we can change up what we have to. And let's see, Andre Burakovsky as well. And then it's Dadonov to a left wing, and then we're good. And then we're good. Andre Burakovsky. I really like those jerseys, all things considered. They didn't have the proper striping in for Hartford. There needed to be like one extra stripe to have it be the exact jerseys that they used to use back in the day before they moved to Carolina. But it is what it is. Dadonov has a letter. How do you like that? How do you like that? All right. So again, we'll go best lines. This will get us the best possible power play setup, which will be good, obviously. And then we are good to go as far as the season sim goes. How far are we going to get into this episode? At least far enough to where we can start considering trades if we need to. It actually puts Marner as the top center, which we will back out of. But aside from having to swap Brown and Shore, team's looking good, and again, I want to get that particular setup right there. It does put Burakovsky in on the power play, which is good. And then again, it's just Tierney and Shore that need the PK time, and they are, by default, our top penalty killers. So we're good to go. Let's do this. Let's do this. David Pastrnak and Mitch Marner, welcome to Hartford. Let's see what you can do. And you know what? I do want to save that moment of, you know, watching the gameplay, you know, going into the game and watching the team. I want to save that for the playoffs. I was tempted to maybe jump into the first game and be like, oh, here's Pastrnak and whoever making their debuts, but let's not. Let's save that, because that is, you know, when you see the gameplay and I start putting on the old commentator style, not what I meant to say, but I dropped my pen and I got distracted, and we also won a game 7-1. So I'm just going to stop that sentence dead, and we'll move on. And we'll move on. As far as scouting goes, again, this game, it's just such a crapshoot. I think I went 6 weeks. Yeah, I did go 6 weeks in the WHL. So I'm going to do the same thing with defensemen. I'd at least rather have the CHL scouted out properly and then just, hope for the best with the European leagues. I've said this many, many times. As far as the scouting goes in the game, it's not really a great system as it currently stands. And I've said this example before too, and if you follow me on Twitch, you know this. The fact that we had a player that we scouted out 17 times, he was showing up as high elite, we drafted him, and he was low top 9. That kind of sums up how poor the scouting system is. But anyway, at the end of our first month, we have a 5-3-1 record. So nothing to really go off of there. Still obviously very early into this season. So we're going to continue through November, and we'll see how that goes. We beat Dallas 6-1 and then lost to Vegas 7-3 and then lost to LA 6-4. Turns out defense and goaltending might still be a little bit of a problem. We'll look to address that, though, in 2 weeks. I will go through as Joe Morrow's hurt. Well, never mind. I was going to say I will go through the rest of the month before taking a look at the team. We now have no choice. So I could call up Liljegren. He doesn't, or it wouldn't be affected by waivers, so we pretty much have no choice. We'll call him up, and he'll get a shot at the NHL level. We'll just have him flat out replace Joe Morrow. Might not be the best situation for him, but it is what it is, and we'll swap him around with Nesterov. Let's see, two-way, two offensive. Liljegren's technically a two-way. All right, works for me. And then defensively, it will be Boyer or Vishnevsky. Does it really matter? Not really. It really doesn't. We'll go with Boyer just because he's a little bit more upset, I suppose. So we'll bump those two down. Extra will be the extra attacker. Right. So we'll say Haberstich and Kosarenkov, wherever the hell he is, right wing. Yeah. So we'll go with Kosarenkov. And then the shootout. This is so annoying to have to do this. Again, it will be Kosarenkov, who I actually don't even think has power play time right now. So when Liljegren gets sent back down, we're going to have to change that up a little bit. I want to take a look at the goaltending. Korpisalo is actually not doing too bad with a .925 save percentage, which is shocking, given some of the score lines we've seen. Defensively, Brodin and Vili-Polka are doing okay. Second pairing of Carlson and Pulock is not. Nesterov is doing all right. Okay, so you know what? Here, let's actually go with Carlson and Liljegren. And we'll see how that goes for now. Then offensively, Panarin, 14 points. That's all right. 17 for Patrick. 16 for Pastrnak. Again, listed as a playmaker. I'd probably rather have him as a sniper. Dadonov with 10 points. Marner with 11. Sprong with 15. Only 4 points so far for DeBrusk. 14, though, for Burakovsky and 12 for Connor Brown. Max Jones with 5 points. 6 for Tierney and 6 for Shore. Now, Tierney isn't too happy about ice time, but he is the only one complaining about it. So, what we'll do... Again, he does have PK time. Does he have 4-on-4 time? He doesn't. So we'll actually take... I could take Burakovsky out of there. I'm going to take Sprong out of there, and we'll put Chris Tierney. And we'll see if that cheers him up just a little bit. So let's keep simming. I mean, as far as the losses that we've had so far, I'm not really sure why that's been happening. I mean, a 7-3 loss, a 6-4 loss. I don't really get it because our defense has looked okay. So it is a little bit surprising. Liljegren and Carlson, that was a rough go for that experiment. Damn. All right, Joe Morrow is back though, which is nice. And I guess I'm going to put Carlson and Nesterov together, and we'll have Ryan Pulock and Morrow, and we'll see if they can turn it around. Although he's not 100%. I do have the game set to be, hey, only tell me when he's 100%, yet they still tell me he's back when he's not, but it is what it is. We are going to have to do a little bit of line management, again, down in the AHL, which, oh, shit, whatever. Let's just get it over with. It has to be done. It has to be done. We'll take out Grabeshkov in exchange for, Sereda and Bulis both have to play. So we'll put in Sereda, and then it was Lokhtianov that needs to be taken out as well. I think, despite them having good potentials, I am just going to keep Bulis and Sereda down on the fourth line for now, and we'll just go with the theme of best players on the higher lines at the moment. We'll at least go with overall, although I am going to swap those two around, so that's looking a little bit better. And then defensively, it's pretty much what we wanted, except for Ekholm being scratched. And again, I think I'm pretty much just going to keep that the same. Mikhanov is there, and then Kravchenko needs to be taken out for Allen. Right. Okay, so the AHL is back to normal. At the very least, certain people have power play time now, which is going to be incredibly helpful. So let's keep going. Let's see what the rest of the early stages of this season has to bring for us. Of course, we're not affected by the December 1st. I was going to say milestone, but it's not exactly a milestone. It's just, hey, RFA is not a factor now. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever. 11, 10, and 3 in the regular season so far, which is, I'd say, disappointing. We are, granted, we're better than Colorado. Good Lord, they suck. And really, we're only 2 points out of a playoff spot. So the Central right now is a really close division. Nolan Patrick is nearly a point-a-game player. So I'd say we're looking okay. We are still going to sim a little bit further into the season, but I do want to double-check, say, our penalty kill efficiency and our power play efficiency. And I want to see how that's working out for us. And I guess just our defense in general. Goals for per game. We're doing all right at 2.83. So top half of the league. Goals against is a 2.75, which is mid-table. Mid-table, so that's not too bad. Our power play percentage is one of the best in the league, 25.3%. Fourth highest number in the league. And our penalty kills are a 79, which is mid-table. So I really don't understand some of those losses. I guess those were just misnomers, I guess. Terminology, I don't know. Here's the thing, right? You've seen in recent episodes, I record these pretty damn early in the morning. So if I'm not completely on my game, I apologize, but damn it, I do what I have to do to try and balance life, Twitch, and YouTube. And man, it's a schedule, let me tell you. But let's continue on with the sim, and hopefully we can find some continued success here. Now, let me see. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Maybe scout goaltenders for 2 weeks. If I scout goalies, scouting goalies for me is a waste of time. We might not find a steal towards the end, but I don't know. I could go back and at least scout for 2 weeks. As far as the scouting goes, though, I think you can tell I'm a little bit discouraged with what I've seen, particularly on Twitch when we've kind of experimented around with the lineup, as Nick Shore goes down to injury for a couple of weeks, just over a week. All right, so that means Kosarenkov will get the call-up, which is nice, and we'll see what he can do. Thankfully, he's not affected by waivers. Now, it's not that I want Kosarenkov on the penalty kill, but for the sake of time, we will just leave him there. I'll swap him with Connor Brown. Yeah, I'll swap him with Connor Brown. How's DeBrusk doing? 6 points. 6 points. That's not ideal, is it? That's not really ideal. So it's Lokhtianov or Grabeshkov. We'll put Lokhtianov there. He is 4 points better. God damn it. What is it? Shootout lineup, 3-on-3. God, that's annoying. Didn't I say replace in all lines? Was I wrong? Was I mistaken? Is that not what I did? Did I hit the wrong button? There we go. Put Lokhtianov there. It technically puts him in on defense, whatever. Or puts him in on the wing, whatever. It's 3-on-3. Who cares? Who cares? Keep the sim going. Let's see if we can... I was about to say, let's see if we can maintain a winning record. We lost 2 straight games. Funny how that happens. Again, let's take out Kosarenkov. For the most part, we've avoided a disastrous situation with injuries. I mean, obviously we've still had quite a few injuries here, but nothing beyond just, tedious kind of roster management. But it is what it is, and you guys know I like the extra added challenge of actually needing some sort of team depth at the NHL level. All right, so there we go. Kosarenkov is back in. We are good to go. He is doing really well in the AHL, all things considered. I mean, again, that team is a disaster. An absolute disaster, but it is set up that way by design to try and get these players as much ice time as possible. But whether or not that's the right strategy this year, I honestly don't know. It might be worth having a balance of, say, 2 veteran lines and 2 youth lines, but when it comes to developing prospects, that means there are very, very few spots. So I'm not quite sure how well that would work out. We have reached the new year. It is January of 2020, and we have a 17-17-3 record. So the team could still use some work. I do wonder if there have been any other moves. I might have checked a little bit too late. No moves whatsoever. A couple of signings at the end of December, but that's about it. No major signings there, really. So let's take a look at our stats, I guess. We are still in 7th. Colorado's now only 3 points back of us. We are 6 points back of the Blackhawks and 12 points back of the first place Dallas Stars. So we are falling off the pace a little bit, but there is still time. But again, the question is, how do we approach the rest of the season? Do we try to make the playoffs? Do we sell? I mean, we could easily get back a good first, not just a first rounder. We could get back a really good return for some of these players. Artemi Panarin was leading the team in points, 22 goals, 17 assists. So he's doing well so far this year. Nolan Patrick, 12 goals, 25 helpers, and then a 9 and 29 stat line for Pastrnak. So the top line's delivering. Dadonov, though, is not. 12 points despite playing with Mitch Marner and Daniel Sprong. So he has been disappointing. Again, he's on this team for the meme and the fact that, he can take up cap space. Mitch Marner, 5 goals, 17 assists, and Daniel Sprong with 11 and 14. So it might be worth bumping Burakovsky up to, say the second line and going with maybe Burakovsky, Marner, Sprong, Dadonov, DeBrusk, Brown. That might be worth it. Connor Brown with 17 points. I'd like to reward Jake DeBrusk and put him on the second line, but that hasn't really been the case so far. On the fourth line, 7 points for Max Jones, 10 for Tierney, and 10 for Nick Shore. Defensively, which again is our biggest issue right now, I would say. Brodin's doing all right, 16 points in total, 15 for Ville Polka, so he's stepping up in a big way. Gabriel Carlsson, though, has been a disaster so far this season, and Nikita Nesterov hasn't done a whole hell of a lot more, despite having power play time as a fairly decent offensive defenseman. Morrow's been okay, Ryan Pulak's kind of struggling a bit, so obviously that defense is a weak point and could be improved. The question is, when do we make that attempt? Malcolm Subban with a .912 save percentage, only a .910 for Korpisalo. So do you blame the defense in front of him, or is he having an off year so far? There are different approaches that we can take when it comes to what we do for the rest of this season. Do we aim to improve that defense and try to make the playoffs? I mean, improving that defense would mean moving Nesterov, probably moving Ryan Pulak. I mean, Joe Morrow can stay for now. I think ideally it would probably be, I mean, God, I don't even know. How much more is Pulak going to improve? He's 25. Like, he's a well-rounded player. But he's not struggling tremendously. He could still be a decent third-pairing guy for us, maybe with Carlson. So I think the idea would be try to acquire 2 more top 4 defensemen. I mean, we'll keep Joe Morrow as a depth guy because of the cap hit. But maybe just have him as the depth guy, move out Nesterov, and find 2 replacements? Like I said, we have options for how we can choose to approach the rest of this season. And if we decide that the best course of action is to sell between Pastrnak, Panarin, and Marner, we'd be in a really good spot. But like I've said, who are we going to get out of that draft that's better? I don't know. So it may just be worth now at this point to go for it. When it comes to the free agent list, I don't believe there's anybody there at this point that would really be an improvement. Simone Dupre and Cody Franzen, so it's pretty much out of the question. But as far as potential options on the trade block, there could be some players worth going after. Now, of course, the trade blocks will change as we get closer to the deadline. But I want to take a look here at some of the names that are available. Brody is being shopped by Calgary. Giordano's being shopped, but he is 36 years old. Strawman as well, even though they just signed him. I don't know if we could get Brody at this point. He's probably a little bit too good. Carolina's not getting rid of anybody. Chicago, they're getting rid of Marian Hossa, but that doesn't help us at all. Anybody on defense? Ian Cole? I mean, I suppose he would be a slight improvement to who we have already, and he is... I mean, he is a decent option, but he's not the cheapest option. So, probably not just prospects for Columbus. Cal Foote's being shopped by Dallas, but that doesn't really help us right now. And again, he has a ton of trade value. Nobody there from Edmonton. Nobody from Detroit. Florida. That's just Lucas Spiza. So the market right now, it is certainly not a buyer's market when it comes to defense, but I'm sure we could figure something out. Say, acquiring Jared Spurgeon. Jared Spurgeon. He has 1 year left on his deal, too, so that might be a decent move to make. It'd probably take giving up a draft pick and a prospect, but I'd say he would absolutely improve our defensive situation, and if we can re-sign him for cheap enough, that would be worth it. Montreal, there's really nobody. It is crazy, too, to think that we are already shifting to being potential playoff contenders, but it happened quickly. And when certain teams leave the opportunity, you know, they leave the door open, they give us the opportunity to get a Pastrnak or a Marner for cheap, why would you not take it? Why would you not take it? But let's see, along with Jared Spurgeon, we have Travis Hamonic and Jake Gardiner, who we could potentially acquire. Hamonic's on an expiring deal. Calvin DeHaan's also on an expiring deal. So, point being, there are players that we could go after. I don't think McDonough would be one. Or Tyler Myers and Mark Stahl, no way. It's funny, though, they had Jimmy Hayes. See, I'm not the only Rangers GM that signs Jimmy Hayes. You have the proof right there. You have the proof. Nick Hague is on the block. Is there anybody else? Just Bortuzzo and Borowiecki from St. Louis. I think that's probably going to do it, unless Vegas has somebody. I think that was Riley Nash or Rick Nash. So, point being, there are options. There are different approaches, and I want to know what you think. How do you suggest we approach the rest of this season? We're not out of the playoff race just yet, but it is very evident that we could use some defensive improvements. As far as the forward core goes, you could argue there could also be improvements, but at this point, I'm all right with who we have. I mean, you would think DeBrusk is still going to improve. Daniel Sprong will still probably improve. Brown, Tierney, and Shore are really good bottom six guys. Max Jones will continue to get better. It's just mainly that defense that we need to improve. So let me know down in the comments below what you think we should do. And until next time, guys, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, so that was a great time for Emmy to spot a squirrel out the window. Emmy's my dog, for those who don't know. I don't remember what I was saying. I guess, did I? Okay, I think I mentioned liking the video if you enjoyed subscribe, Twitter, Twitch, videos, check them out. You know the deal. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.